Hi everyone. The first step to set up Microsoft Power Automate Desktop is to install it on your computer. To do that, I'm going to go to the search bar and type in Store. Which brings me to all the Microsoft-owned apps that I don't need IT's help to install. Next, I'll type in the search bar Power Automate. For me, it'll show that it is already installed and I can just hit open. But for everyone else, you just have to hit install or get, and that will bring you to a few prompts, including logging into your KCI account and your Duo login. And then you can open up the app after you've saved it from pinning to your taskbar. Welcome everyone. In this video, I'm going to show how to run a shared Power Automate desktop flow from a fellow KCI employee. Most likely, the files will be shared through an Outlook email. So here's an example email which contains 3 different files that we're going to use later on, and I'll explain what these are specifically used for later. For now, we want to make sure we have them all saved in the same spot. So we'll click Save All Attachments, hit OK, and I'm going to create a new folder. We're going to name this folder PAD for Power Automate Desktop. Next, we're going to click on that folder and hit OK. Alright, now our files are saved in one spot. So, in order to unzip one of these folders, as you know, we go to here and click Extract All. Hit Extract. And we see that our files are now extracted. What these are here are the JavaScript texts that we will be pasting into our flow. Now, on your end, we'll need to start a new flow. So I have Microsoft Power Automate Desktop open. This came from the Microsoft Store. And I'll click New Flow. Let's just name it PAD and create. It's going to go ahead and open up this flow. And from here, we're going to paste in our JavaScript texts into this blank space here. We already have a main tab or main flow open. So what we're going to do is click on Files, and we see here that we have this title called main text. This is just a notebook file, and so click open on that. I have notebook pinned to make this process simpler, but we're going to Control All, simply Control A, Control C to copy all the text in this file. Then we can hit Close. Next, we can go ahead and right click and hit Paste, Control V. This pasted all of our steps for our main flow. As you can see, an error will pop up that says subflow loop 1 wasn't found. That's because a subflow in this flow is referenced. Now what is a subflow? Subflows are ways to organize flows to make it more specific for certain actions. This increases efficiency and organization. You can add a new subflow by clicking this plus sign here, and then you'll be able to name it whatever you want. In this case, we want to name a new subflow loop 1. Capitalization doesn't matter for these. Now we have loop 1, and we're going to follow the same exact process. I'll go ahead and show that. Control A, Control C, paste. In this subflow, we have 3 new ones, new subflows that weren't already included. So I'm going to go ahead and add each of those for now. First one was item. Save. As you can see, the error disappeared. Then I hit new subflow. I'm going to type in districts. Save. And one more subflow. Call it visual. Save. Okay. This one already has information, so we need the information for item now. You go to item. Open that notebook. Control A, Control C. Paste. Same thing for districts. Control A, Control C, and paste. Lastly, visual. This is an optional subflow. Sometimes you won't need all of these. In order to remove subflows, you can just go here and click delete. For now, I'll show you how to add this though. Same process. Okay, now that we have all of our flows in, we're going to go ahead and show you how to add or edit some of these steps here. We have 3 different sections that are commented as follows: set ECMS search preferences, Excel positions, and file locations. What we'll do is set our file locations. We want to launch an Excel file that has the formulas that we will use later on. In this case, we want to launch one of the files that was sent in an email. So we'll select the file by hitting that icon here, and we'll click our folder and click the name of our file, var, which is short for variable. Then we'll go ahead and click save. This will save it as an instance which is given its own name, which you don't need to change in the flow. Next, we'll do the same thing for our workbook. This will be where Power Automate will read and write data that it finds into the workbook. Go to Power Automate Design Workbook. Okay. Now, they already had a different location, but I'm just giving it a new location. It's able to be saved under the same Excel instance name. Finally, we're going to have Microsoft Edge launched. Let's go ahead and test out this link. Copy that. Search under Microsoft Edge. As you can see, we got to log in first. So I'm going to go ahead and log in and stay logged in a different tab. That way, when Microsoft Power Automate Desktop launches, it'll take us directly to the search page instead of the login page. Now that we have all of our file locations set, we can go ahead and think about what variables we want to add. So we can choose the report type. In this case, we want detail. The date, we can go ahead and change this date to whatever we want. Let's say we want it to be January instead of June. Then we can choose our bid type. In this case, this will choose the low 3 bids. Our starting district, we can change this to whatever we want by go ahead and within these apostrophes say 2 or 3, save. And if we want to include surrounding districts, then we go in here, and then in this list format separated by commas, we can change this to whatever we want. So 1, 2, 11, and so on. And then for our item type, The default value will be bid on ECMS, but we want our alternate item type to be a CIS. Okay. Next, our Excel positions will be where in the workbook that Power Automate will be reading data from. This is the row that it will start reading from, and this is the row that it will stop reading and end the entire flow. Next, we have just one more variable that tells Power Automate where we want our calculations column to be. This is where all the information from our formulas Excel will be pasted into Excel. Now that all of our manual inputs are in and these three comments are addressed, we can go ahead and double check our settings before we run the flow. For our run delay, we can go all the way down to 1 millisecond, but we can do 5. The difference between 5 and 1 is not very noticeable. And then under our download settings for Microsoft Edge, we can access them by hitting Control-J and right-clicking on an Excel file download. We want to make sure that always open files of this type is checked. So we can double check that by hitting Control-J, right-clicking, always opens files of this type, always open files of that type, and so on. Alright, so now that we have those files ready to go, let's go back to our flow. Let's hit run. It's going to launch the Excel and launch the ECMS page. Now it's reading from the workbook and typing in numbers into the Excel, searching for those numbers, and then pasting those numbers in a processed way into the Excel worksheet. Then it's going down this list and repeating the process. Now that our run is complete, we can all the information that Power Automate was able to input from online into this project workbook just based on these individual item numbers. And for each of these, there's a tab that includes a calculation. In this case, we have a calculation that's based off of a quantity and a range based off of that quantity that chooses which unit prices to use. These inputs are automatically put and labeled from each individual tab so that these will automatically update if this ever gets changed manually. One interesting thing to note is that if you want to make a change to formatting for all of these individual tabs, you can just select all sheets, control click on the cost estimate because it's a different one, and then we can drag column sizes here, and all of these will be edited. For example, that, if we go to the next one, that's changed, but we want to go to back, we do that, and that changes. It does it for all of these items. Yes, so these calculations can be edited very easily and changed from project to project just based on that initial formulas spreadsheet. And this is it right here. This is the one we used for this run.